Happy Friday, socialites. Welcome to the best damn social club in the universe. I am your host, Jedi ASU, and thank you so very much for spending some of your Friday night with me and my guest, Hode Rabino from Devil's Digest. We're going to have always an excellent conversation and preview of the truncated and very exciting season that we have both on football and basketball side. So make sure you pour yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and let's get social. It is Friday, the 30th of October in the year of our COVID 2020. Thank you again. Happy Halloween Eve, I guess is what it is. Hopefully, you are able to do some sort of social distancing, Halloween trick or treating, or whatever else it may be tomorrow. I know I'm going to be participating in that because I have this whole setup that I'm excited to run through and everything else. So hopefully, you get to do the same. As always, like I said, hopefully you had a wonderful week. I hope your feet hurt because you did kick so much ass. So, looking forward to today. As again, we'll go ahead and transition over to my man, Hode Rubino. How are you from Devil's Digest, my friend? Lovely to see you as always.
Great to see you, Jedi. Thanks so much for having me, as always.
That's good, And again, I know we were pre gaming, and I will always love the way we get to go ahead and talk and get ready for, what's coming up given the season. Obviously, the election and all that other stuff and what we're seeing. So again, I can't appreciate you enough for even those conversations as well. So that was a good pregame, and it got me hyped. What are you drinking, by the way? Are you drinking anything
I'm still with my agua over here.
That's all right. That's okay because actually that's something I actually went and I was actually able to get the 2020 Rula Bula
Oh,
Pat Tillman
nice.
Foundation um, Pite for Pat. I am doing If It Ain't Baroque Hazy IPA, and so this one actually just arrived. I ordered it Saturday, and it showed up on Tuesday. It was amazing how quickly we were able to get it sent to me. So I was actually very fortunate and blessed about that one. So everyone else, whoever's else watching, and you're on the chat, salud. Let us know what you're drinking. We will go on in from there. So lots of stuff to talk about. I know. Always love to hear your feedback, but just to jump into it because I know we have kickoff in less than seven sleeps, and we get to go ahead and God willing be able to play USC at USC in LA during a pandemic. And so you have been brilliant on your Devil's Junkie podcast. Thank you. I'll absolutely love everything that's going on in the huddle. I did want to make a note. Zach Keenan is doing a brilliant job.
Thank you very
I
much.
love that. I'm not following him yet, but shout out to Zach. He's good. But what are your thoughts on the way ASU is putting out those little videos and everything else for you guys? Is it helping you as a publisher, and what have you seen?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ASC asked me for my feedback too, and I really have nothing but compliments
Wonderful.
for the sports information department over there. Mark Brand, Doug Tamara, Jeremy Hawks,
Right.
Connor Smith, and all the good folks over there. Really doing an excellent job. You mentioned Zach Keenan doing a good job, and I think that what helps Zach Keenan and helps all of us really is that because we're not able to attend practice, they're giving us photos and film from pretty much almost every session.
Wow.
Obviously, having play a lot of different players on Zoom. It's not just Jaden Daniels on repeat.
Oh, cool.
Almost, I think almost all the coaches at this point on the staff have been on Zoom, and it just really helps because I don't have to tell anybody this has been a long off season. People are starving for information.
Right.
So as much information as we can give that benefits the Sun Devil community at large. So I hope folks have been enjoying all our work at Devil's Digest. We have been working hard on it, but obviously you have to tip your hat to ASU because I doubt a lot of Pac-12 schools have been doing the level of media support, if you will, as ASU has been. Again, whether it's just making players and coaches available, not only on Zoom, also on one-on-one interviews. We had some
Right.
great one-on-one interviews with wide receiver Andre Johnson, offensive lineman Ben Scott. Some of those maybe unsung heroes that I think could really surprise some people over here in this 2020 season. And again, just getting footage, getting photos, really a big help. So shout out to ASU, and you know people may like ASU for different reasons, but me as a beat writer, I just like ASU with the support they're really giving us year in and year out. It's been really consistent, and pandemic or no pandemic, they're really delivering.
I think that's a brilliant point that you put out, right? Because I think that's something that I'll actually gonna. I mean, I was actually able to be part of the Right for Cal podcast, and I was able to do that. And that's actually very interesting. You're putting it that way, and I want to be able to ask that of other writers, like what kind of media exposure you're getting, because obviously Coach Herm has always been open, right? It's always been open. Yeah, they closed it some, but you sure as hell not getting that kind of detail out of you them down south, given how closed they are.
Mhm.
It just by
Yep.
Nate, just by naturally, not not even with the pandemic, right? So it just did be very curious to see. I'm going to have to troll some of the other sites then, so we're going to see what kind of other kind of stuff they're getting out there. But how? So what have you gleaned, from? And we'll talk about the play. We'll talk about the players and the personnel and everything else. But I
Mhm.
wanted to go ahead and get your feedback, obviously, on the schedule. Right, we have 6 games.
Mhm.
Have you shared your prediction for the year yet?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. I did predict ASU not only to win the South, but to win the Pac-12. I mean, I'm just really really bullish on this team this year.
Okay.
And my biggest argument, and some may agree or disagree, I think it's the preseason preparedness because ASU has been extremely lucky
Right.
to have no interruptions whatsoever in their preparations for the 2020 season. I mean, you obviously being up there in NorCal, you know what Cal and Stanford and the hell that they have gone through.
Right.
Just to have players have a strength and conditioning session, let alone
Exactly.
walkthroughs, let alone practicing in cohorts. Is that what I think that's the
Exactly. That's a big
yeah.
fancy
So
in the
and
virtual
and
cohorts that the governor
exactly, and
pushed.
also teams in Oregon, Oregon and Oregon State,
Right.
namely, also having the own restrictions and everything. And look, you can argue is it justified, not justified,
Right.
based on the COVID-19 numbers. But the bottom line is that again, ASU has been really really blessed to really have as much as normal of a preseason. And I know it sounds crazy to even say that in
Right.
the year of the pandemic, but really, I mean, there really hasn't been a whole lot different in their routine. Strength and conditioning has been going on pretty much without a hitch. I mean, maybe a player's missing a few sessions here and there, but it's not like a situation where it happened in U of A or even at USC where they had to close for about 10 days
Right.
because of a COVID outbreak. And these players, these coaches are ready to play, and it's not just with the normal anxiousness, but just because there really has been that uninterrupted preparation,
Okay.
and they're well past the point. We need to hit somebody else. We need to just play somebody else. I mean, ASU is way past that point. Maybe some other teams are
Right.
still trying to figure things out and everything, and ASU is just really ready to implement everything that they've been doing in the preseason, and really has been a lot of positive feedback. I know the rubber meets the road on November
Yes,
7th. We'll see
sir.
what it all means ultimately, but right now I know that both the offense and the defense for ASU are really really excited with their new scheme. So I think everybody else is anxious,
Right.
just like the players and coaches themselves, to see how it all comes together.
Now, do you think that the way ASU has been able to practice, not only have a spring practice, but also still
Mhm.
being able to conduct themselves with somewhat sort of, the strength and conditioning, and then
Mhm.
the kind of cohort group practicing and everything else,
Sure.
do you think that it gives them a leg up, much like some of the other like SEC or ACC teams have? You're seeing them a little bit better. Obviously, some of the defense is still a disaster, like LSU, but
Yeah.
some of them are still playing at a fairly decent level. And do
Yeah,
you think
and you
that's
brought
what
up
we're
a
going to
good
see?
point. Yeah, I brought up a good point about spring practice, which I should have probably mentioned a second ago. That ASU had 7 spring practices, which is by far the most of the Pac-12. So that really laid the foundation, which was really critical for this
Right.
2020 Sun Devil squad. Again, implementing a new system on offense, implementing a new system on defense, really to have as much as on field experience with actually running that. I mean, sure,
Right.
look, you can be in Zoom calls and even film sessions in person until your eyes bleed, but what is happening on the field, and that's really the indicator that, and really the foundation you really can build on. So I
Right.
think the fact that ASU did have 7 spring practices is just a solid foundation to what they able to do pretty much from June all throughout October. When you talk about advantages, I don't know if they have that much of an advantage against against a team like USC,
Okay.
because USC has pretty much been uninterrupted. Like I said, that they did have that 10-day hiatus due to COVID, but
Okay.
by all accounts, they really have been doing okay as far as being
All
uninterrupted.
right.
But a team like Cal, which ASU plays in week 2,
Mhm.
or a team like Stanford, which ASU doesn't play, which I think would love to play this year. Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine that they can come firing on those cylinders in week 1,
Right.
because, not to belabor the point, but their preseason preparedness has been nothing
They were
like schools
hamstrung.
like ASU or even USC for that matter. So
Right.
to answer your question, it really is a case by case basis. ASU also goes on the road against Colorado, which, maybe by then they're able to figure
Yeah,
some
that's
things out.
true.
But
Okay, because
but
it
they
is
also had a
later.
very, very interrupted preseason as well.
They did.
So again, I mean, it just really depends how much that advantage shows up, depending on the team you're playing. So in all honesty, I don't think it's going to be a country mile advantage against
Right.
USC. Against Cal and Colorado, that can be a totally different story in
Okay.
favor of the Sun Devils.
That's interesting, right? Because I know we're this is kind of the way I wanted to kind of go, because I wanted to talk about the schedule and the team more than individuals, and we'll probably do that through this hour. But one of the videos that happened today, and it was actually, again, brilliant video. They were talking about how I think they were talking about, and it was Ben, who's a lineman, who's a starting lineman now, Ben, or is it
Ben Scott, the right
Ben
tackle.
Scott? Thank you. He was talking
Yeah.
about how he's used to playing the air raid, but there's still a ton of nuances the whole offense is still trying to get through. And also, it's actually the other side is when we were talking about Antonio Pierce. I don't know if Antonio Pierce or someone else said it in the video, but they were also talking about how it was frustrating the defense, because it was so hard to read. So it's cool, right, that it's confusing our defense, but it also, does that mean our defense? And again, it's just me with that little, I'm not a pessimist, but it's just that little pessimist thread. Does it mean that our defense is just still trying to adapt to the new defensive scheme, or is it something else?
No, I think actually what you said originally, the ASU defense trying to adapt to the ASU offense. Not that they have to face it every Saturday, but they are obviously face it every day in practice.
Got it.
And I know that the players and the coaches have all the respect in the world for the USC offense for obvious reasons.
Right.
But that offense, and really probably every offense in the Pac-12, is stationary compared to the ASU offense. Because, like you said, all the pre-snap motions, pre-snap shifts, and just the enormous amount of creativity, the onus that they put on wide receivers not to run a blind route, if you will, but actually run a route, read the secondary,
Right.
and then adjust your route accordingly. That's some stuff that they're not going to see by and large, even from a very potent offensive team like USC.
Right.
So I think you heard a good amount of 50-50 compliments from the offense and defense. The defense complimenting the offense, but the offense saying, "Hey, this defense, especially in the back seven, is giving us all we can handle." A lot of veteran, proven players should be eliciting those sentiments
Right.
from an offense. So I really think that that the defense definitely has a lot to get used to, and when they're going to face different offenses each and every week, where they're not going to have the quote unquote dirty eyes,
Right.
where lack of focus really wouldn't be merited by the scheme that they're facing. I think there's something to be said about that. So I'm really interested to see, obviously, how they come up against USC, because look, when you look at that 2019 game, everybody,
I'd rather not.
Everybody loves to, but that's the thing. That's the thing, Rob. Everybody loves to harp about the first quarter, and yes, it was an awful first quarter. The 297 yards that Keaton Slovis passed against ASU, that broke a 15-year record as far as the most yards in a first quarter. But for the next three quarters, against a scheme that some people still hate to this day, 3-3-5.
Right.
And I think it's really more the lack of pass rush that didn't make this scheme tick. I mean, not to go down a rabbit hole, but Renell Wren was there in 2018, and I don't think a lot of people complain about that scheme.
No, that's true.
Renell Wren wasn't there in 2019, and I think that made a bigger difference than
Oh, fair.
a
Okay.
lot of people would admit. Because in a 3-3-5, you have to have a kick-ass defensive line.
Mm,
I mean, no okay, average,
right.
slightly above average. And ASU just did not have that in 2019. But to their credit, really thanks to a lot of matchup zone defense that Danny Gonzalez and Tony White switched to in
Hmm.
the last three quarters, they really shut down
They
this
did.
this USC offense. And this USC offense is returning the exact same cast of characters,
Mm,
the exact same scheme. So trust me, I mean, as much as ASU fans want to dismiss the last three quarters where USC only scored 3 points, you can bet you know what that USC offense, even though they're facing a different defensive scheme, they were looking a lot at those last three quarters in the game in Tempe, saying, "Okay, what did we do wrong
yeah.
that we did so right in the first quarter, and then why did things go south in the last three quarters?" So
It's funny
and,
you
and that's
mentioned
against a
that.
defense right now that is a year older, a year wiser, and on paper having a better defensive line. So
Right.
that's one factor I think should give optimism for Sun Devil fans
Okay.
as the Sun Devils head on to the Coliseum on November 7th.
That's actually a good point too, because like to your point about how USC, because I mean I remember rewatching the game, and at the start of the third quarter, they were like, "Oh, here comes the USC implosion. Here they are worrying and all this other stuff." And to your, I don't even remember when. Maybe I think the third was that lone field goal in the third quarter or four. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All I know is that it was in one of the last three quarters. It's just
Yeah.
they were able to hold them down. So, and I guess it's just again the battered fan syndrome, right? We only remember what we got beat up about. So, and I guess that's interesting that you're saying, because again with what we were talking about pre gaming, right? Your record for ASU, you're predicting.
5-1 over the first six games, and I'm predicting beyond that because I don't know what game number 7 is going to be.
Understood. And so that lone loss is going to be.
To UCLA. I just feel that UCLA, for some reason, has ASU's number. Maybe not to the level that Colorado does,
Yeah,
but it does seem that USC, for the
or UCLA.
level of talent or lack thereof, if you want to be honest, for some reason, really gives ASU many more fits than they should. And I know that game's going to be at home, but I just feel that inevitable letdown of ASU being, I think it's going to be what 3-0 or 4-0
Hmm.
up until that point. I think this letdown is going to take place against UCLA. But
That's how I felt about UCLA, us going to UCLA last year. I could not explain it, but it just did not sit well with me. That, it's like all season, everyone's like, UCLA's awful, UCLA's awful. And I'm like, man, I don't know what it is, but us going into the Coliseum like that it just did not feel right all week. Just,
look, U of A did not have a world beater team in 2018 either, and ASU somehow had the mother of all comebacks down 19
yeah,
down 19 in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I mean you're right. People can keep on saying, don't worry about Team X or Team Y.
right.
They're crap and everything, but sometimes their biggest fears materialize. They almost materialized in 2018 in Tucson,
Yeah.
but with UCLA, to your point, that they did materialize, and that's the one game this year that I just don't have a good feeling about.
I don't know what
If
it is
ASU
either.
proves me wrong, so be it. But I just don't have a good feeling about that game.
Yeah, and I think Ralph was saying like Colorado, it's going to be like in the 30s when we go see them, when we go to
Yeah,
Colorado.
but I think Colorado is really going to be a shell of themselves, especially on offense. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, if the weather is miserable over there, maybe AC won't be able to do all they want to do on offense. But they definitely have a talent advantage. And I'm not saying really didn't have the last
Right.
couple of years, but I think maybe the talent advantage in 2018-19 was kind of minuscule compared to what they have this year.
They just were
This
able
year,
to
there's
do it.
absolutely no excuse whatsoever to not get that Colorado monkey off your back.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the heck's happening over there.
I have no idea, and that's why I'm so excited about this season, right? And so before wrapping up the teams and the schedule, right? Utah, you and I were talking about that, and for
Yeah.
some reason, maybe I am reading myself into circles, right? For me, I still feel that their defense is going to be a significant drop down. but they have
Absolutely.
like a bunch of returnals on offense, right? And so, is it really the loss of the quarterback and their running back Zach? Is that really enough for them to just even have a step down? Utah to take a step down.
I just think that that team is really built on a stout defense. And I also can say
Mm,
a stout running game. But to me, when you lose 9 stars on defense, you lose 9 stars on defense.
yeah.
I know it was the number one defense in the Pac-12 in 2019. I get that, but you lost 9 starters.
Yeah.
I mean, how can anybody sit here with a straight face and say, "Oh, this defense is not going to miss a beat"? Oh, you're overreacting to that. I mean, at the end of
Okay.
the day, the numbers are what the numbers are,
Right.
and the fact that ASU is getting them at home, that helps. I mean, again, with not that many fans in the stand besides friends and family. I mean, you
Right.
can also make the argument: does it really matter anymore in 2020?
No
But
muss. Thank God.
but I just feel that the national media, when you and I talked about this earlier,
Right.
for some reason still thinks Utah is not going to miss a beat, or maybe not miss that many beats from 2019. I just really don't see that happening. I think I think that team, I mean, could be 3-3 ultimately. Okay, great,
Right.
but I just can't see that team contending for the South.
Yeah.
I just don't see it, and my position is hardly the minority over here. I don't feel it. So.
Well, it was interesting because on Brad's podcast when he
Mm.
interviewed Kyle Whittingham, even he said this team is gonna rely on the offense, and you just said right, they are
They
known for
have
their
to.
stout. They're known for their
Yeah.
stout defense. So if the head coach is like, okay, yeah, we have to go ahead and be on the other side of the ball, it's like that's not good.
Well, great. They're going to rely on an offense with a brand new quarterback, no matter who it is, a brand new running back. Which I
Right.
mean, I understand. You talk to Utah insiders. Oh, we got such a stable of running backs and
Next
everything.
man up.
Well,
Blah
I
blah
mean,
blah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but as far as the been there, done that running back, I mean, Utah right now doesn't have it.
They don't have
I'm
it.
not, I didn't
They're
really.
almost
I don't
like
know
us.
offhand their. Yeah, I don't know offhand their offensive line
Okay.
numbers over there, and I think they're returning a decent amount of talent at wide receiver. But
Right.
this is an offense that really does rely on a stout defense and a stout running game. And
Right.
I'm not saying Utah's going to be an abomination. So if any Utah fans are going to watch us later, I'm not saying that. But I just don't think that you're going to be a legitimate contender to be in the top 25,
Right.
like some pundits think you should be. And you're not going to be a legitimate contender for the Pac-12 South, like some pundits think you be.
Right, exactly. Well, all of us could end up 3-3 for all we know.
Sure,
Right.
absolutely.
Now, so yeah, that winds up everyone and you them. I don't mean to talk about them because we know we're gonna frog stomp them down in Tucson, so there's no reason to go about that. So, back to the offense. So I wanted to start talking about the positions and the offense, but the offense now. It seems that it's coming along, right? The Zach Hill offense is coming along. There's some
Yeah.
real exciting things that they're talking about, right? Running by committee, right?
Mhm.
Throwing to a tight end. That's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be, something quite exciting. Is will How do I say this? Is I've been thinking about this all day and I've been trying to figure out how to word it. Will this offense go the way Jaden Daniels goes, or is there another position group that's going to really help shape the way this offensive group goes? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, to say the quarterback's going to be the biggest factor of the offense. I mean, that goes without saying. But I understand you want to get deeper into this and
Right,
say,
because
okay, I
it's
mean, obviously,
Jaden Daniels
obviously, Jay
is,
Daniels has to have a good year. I
of
mean,
course,
obviously,
and
without saying,
everyone's expecting that. I mean, he's
yeah,
beefier, he's learning it, and Zach Hill's going to be on the sidelines. Is that what I saw?
correct,
Which is
correct,
actually exciting. So now,
yes.
who else, or I mean, I guess what other component is really going to shape or drive the offense, or is it just so new? I mean,
I just think I've maybe one misconception I think regarding the Zach Hill offense, that creativity and pre-snap motions and shifts does not mean you're going to barely run. It
okay,
does not mean you're going to be an air raid Mike Leach, where even when you
right.
need to run, you're going to pass.
Hmm.
I really don't see that happening at all. So I think the running back group is going to be a bigger factor than maybe some people think it will be,
Okay.
just because they picture Zach Hill, Boise State, and just passing for 45, 50 times a game. And I really don't see that happening.
Okay.
And I think some of it obviously is just the mentality of Herm Edwards, because he's never going to be anything close to an air raid guy. He's never going
Right.
to hire an offensive coordinator that is going to be an air raid disciple. And even if he did hire one, he's going to try to convert him as he hires him, just to be a more balanced offense.
Okay.
Offensive coordinator. So I think the running back group for ASU is really going to play a bigger part than people think they're going to think it will. I mean, yes, tight ends are going to be thrown to more than the previous years. It's not going to be lip service for a change.
Right.
Curtis Hodges is getting a lot of rave reviews in the preseason.
Good.
And that is a guy that showed some flashes as a freshman, really struggled as a sophomore and a junior. And just one of those cases where senior season, just saving his best for last.
Right.
I really think he could be a much bigger factor than people think he will be. And I know a lot of fans, and rightfully so, have really been critical about his drops, lack of focus. But I really have a good feeling that we're going to see a different Curtis Hodges.
That's good
this year in the ASU offense. But I really think the running backs are really going to be a much bigger part than people think they're going to be. Than people think are going to be. So don't be surprised if ASU still runs the ball 25, 30 times a game. That can definitely happen.
Good.
On any given Saturday. And the steal of this top 25 2020 recruiting class may have been somebody that came late in Rashad White, the junior college transfer.
I was going to ask, yeah.
Because DeMonte Traynham, the freshman from Akron, Ohio, which was here in the spring, and I really think came as advertised when we saw him in the first spring practice.
Right.
Is a very, very good running back and really is going to delight Sun Devil fans. But don't get it twisted. The fact that him and Rashad White are battling for starting running back position doesn't mean that Traynham took a step back from his spring performance. Not at all. It just means that you got a hidden gem in Rashad.
Wow.
Rashad White. Rashad White is really more of the Kalen Ballage, and DeMonte Traynham might be more of the Demario Richard, if you will, just as far as body type. But that is going to be a really nice 1-2 punch. And don't forget about Daniel Nada, who's really going to be more of that scat back, change of pace running back, third down running back, but somebody who made also a lot of strides from the spring to the preseason. So
excellent.
It's going to be hard to replace Eno Benjamin. I know that's not breaking news, but having those three running backs by committee, I think you might see a better running game than you probably expected to see the Sun Devils this year. And again,
right,
creativity, deception, and offense doesn't mean you're abandoning the running game.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're throwing the running game a bone once in a while. That's still going to be a really big part of this ASU offense.
Yeah, Boise State was always good for that, and that's one of the things that I was talking about in my chat with Right for Cal. Benjamin was 67% of the production, the running production, 67%, and I'm like, okay, that's all gone. And then the number 2 was Jaden Daniels. So I think that the one thing that I really liked about that is that we don't have to rely on a Michigan State ending or a Washington State ending anymore. We have enough horses that sound like they're extremely talented to be able to make that one happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. Yeah, I know how many close endings we'll see, like the games you mentioned, but this defense definitely has the talent, definitely has the experience to turn it up in fourth quarter, to turn it up in crunch time, to win a game for ASU. And I suspect that it may happen more often than some people may think.
Right.
A W is a W at the end of the day. And the coaches, I mean, sure, they want to see improvement from week to week, but when you talk about a 7-game schedule, it's impossible to overstate the importance of every week. Every week is a playoff on steroids.
It is,
if you will. So any way you can get a W, you go ahead and get it. And not that I'm not confident in this offense, but obviously when you look at the inexperience factor, it's much more prevalent on the offense, especially with the skilled players. So yes, I think the defense will be called upon to pull some games out of where the sun doesn't shine and and they're definitely capable of doing that in 2020. So that's something
Exactly.
that, if it did materialize that way, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Right. It's absolutely. And shout out to everyone in the chat. Eric, good to see you. Paul, as lovely as always. One of the questions that Paul was asking about, he's actually reinforcing the O line, right? And I think there was some news that came out today, and so O line it appears that they're actually shaping up rather well.
Yeah, they really are. I think that the left side of the line with the two grad transfers, Henry Haddis at left guard, Kellen Deesh was here already in the spring at left tackle, definitely upgrades that side of the line instantaneously.
Okay.
Kate Cote, which is really a tragic story when you look at it, where he just was not able to make an impact throughout his first 4 years at ASU as a fifth-year senior. Really looked great in the preseason as a starting center.
Good.
The coaches had all the confidence in him, and literally 5 days before the season opener, he breaks his foot and is out. Then you have the shift with Cole Cabral moving back to center, and it really was well, I'm sorry. Well, actually, the first game Cole Cabral was not at center, but later on he was.
Chaos.
And Ladarius Henderson as a true freshman started left tackle. It really was a mess. So just to have a 6-year senior, grad transfer, center, left guard, left tackle, I think that's a definitely advantageous situation for Arizona State. And now when you have the underclassmen, they're really not wet behind the ears by any means. You have right now at right guard Donovan West. Although Donovan West and Henry Addis were switching quite a bit in recent sessions, so I'm curious to see when they do line up against USC, will Donovan West stay at right guard? Will Henry Addis stay at left guard, or will they switch places? That's definitely something to look out for. And at right tackle, there really has been a battle between Ladarius Henderson, who again started double-digit games at left tackle, and then now was moved to right tackle this year because of Kellen Deesh arriving as a grad transfer from Texas A&M. But him and Ben Scott was a redshirt freshman, somebody who really drew a lot of rave reviews in his redshirt year. Now those two are battling for starting duties at right tackle. And let's just say that I'm not going to be shocked at all if Ben Scott is going to be the starter at right tackle. Now, Ladarius Henderson obviously can be the first man up off the bench at either tackle position for that matter.
Okay.
But I would say that's pretty much the starting front five that you're going to see in the LA Coliseum. Scott, West, going from right to left. Scott, West, Cote, Haddis, Deesh, with the asterisk that you may see Haddis and West switch between right guard and right guard and left guard.
And they seem to be taking to that shift rather well, because like we're talking about with last year. Oh gosh, not Cade. Where did he go? He was center, and then he moved, and you just said his name.
Cole Cabral. Yeah.
So he wasn't, again, we moved him into tackle and it wasn't right. And so then he moved back to center and it was fine. So it seems like they're able, now this year, it seems that Haddis and Ladarius are able to be much more interchangeable without any loss of whatever that is. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody like Ben Scott, and I reported, even I think going back to last year in the huddle, that the coach was really high on him, but at the same point, they saw him as a swing center guard or interior lineman, I should say, not really thinking about him at tackle at all. And Ben Scott is really the de facto backup center to Kate Cote, even though he's more than likely going to start at right tackle. And I'm sorry, but backup center to Kate Cote, even though he's a de facto starter at right tackle for ASU right now. But versatility. I don't think Ben Scott is second to anybody in that department when it comes to the front five.
Excellent.
So but there's some versatility on this Arizona State offensive line.
Good.
But Jared Bell, who's now a sophomore, Spencer Lovell, I believe, is a sophomore now too. I mean, those are also players that may be some of the first ones to really come off the bench. I think the offensive line still has a lot to prove.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
I think I'm really comfortable what I'm seeing with the center and the left side of the line, and I like Donovan West
Hmm.
at right guard if that's going to be his position when the season starts. So really, the right tackle, as much as I think that Ben Scott is a very unheralded, underrated player,
Right.
he's going to be starting his first collegiate game ever
That's
at
cool.
USC at right tackle. Really curious to see how he plays right out of the gates.
Absolutely.
But if Ben Scott is supposedly the weakest link of this front five and he ends up actually playing above expectation, this offensive line is going to be better.
That's cool.
And but what we saw in 2019, that's going to be such a key, not only for pass protection for Jaden Daniels, but also really run blocking for
Yes.
a group of running backs that has also, like Ben Scott,
Yeah.
has never taken a snap in Division I football.
It's always about opening those gaps, which is impressive. And so obviously Frank Darby's going to be the one on the wide receiver. Everyone's going to be looking for him. But I'm actually been very excited about all your write-ups about Levon LV Buckland Shelton.
Yes.
How is he? What else have you seen about him lately? I mean, it's just everyone's just buzzing about him right now.
Yeah, he's a simply put a playmaker. He's going to play in the slot position, which if fans paid notice for some reason, that slot wide receiver position really was more of a decoy, more of a run blocker rather than actually a bona fide playmaker, and that's going to change under Zach Hill. And Elvin Buckley Shelton is really as complete as a wide receiver as you can ask. Not really imposing by size. I mean, sure, he's quick, but I wouldn't call him blazing fast. But
Okay.
He's just somebody that just is very, very sound with his running and very sound with his football IQ, even for a true freshman. And that's one player that if he has an outstanding season, that should come as no surprise to anybody. And something I talked about a lot is just imperative for a newcomer like LV Bunkley Shelton or Johnny Wilson, who's going to line up next to him on the boundary side of the field, for them to play at a level high enough that they can take away the pressure off of Frank Darby.
Mm-hmm.
Because not to minimize what Frank Darby did last year or even the last 2 years at ASU, but he had N'Keal Harry, he had Brandon Ayuk. He never was the focal point of the scouting report.
Absolutely.
That obviously changes and then some in 2020.
Absolutely.
But I believe that those two freshmen, Bunkley Shelton and Wilson, can take enough pressure off from Frank Darby that if you are a opposing secondary and you think I need to pay more attention to Darby than to those two freshmen, I think ASU, with the talent they have and more importantly the scheme that they have, are really going to make you regret that approach if you do go that way.
That's exciting. That's, like I said, I think that's why, given everything that you're saying, I think that's the reason why it's good to be high on the offense, even though it is a new scheme. It's a reason to be high on the offense because there's just so many playmakers and so much potential to be able to turn that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Question from Paul again. Just before we get into the defensive side, NC2A gave everyone an extra year, but they've also have they also allowed schools to exempt those players from the scholarship levels? And I don't think that's the case, but go ahead.
It's a very complex rule to explain without me having visual effects over here. But
next time I'll have you get a PowerPoint ready.
Exactly. Basically, the way you want to look at it, yes, teams can go over the overall 85 scholarship limit in 2021, but the players that account for that can only be the seniors. So in other words, I think ASU has 12 seniors this year, if I'm not mistaken. So ASU technically can have 97 players, if just taking those numbers, on scholarship in 2021. But in 2022, you have to get back down to 85.
Because the assumption is that those seniors will leave.
Yeah, exactly. And trust me, nobody would love it more than the ASU staff if even 2 out of the 3 out of Kellen Deesh, Henry Addis, and Kate Cote decided to come back in 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, then offensive line is not even close to being a question mark anymore.
Absolutely.
With the loads of experience that you would have, not only with those players, but obviously with all the players around them as well. Yeah, so that's basically how you need to look at it. Yes, it makes roster management a nightmare, not only for 2021, but especially for 2022. Because, and I'm just going to come out and say it, and this might be the ugly side of college football, starting this year, you're going to have players, mostly upperclassmen probably, that are going to be advised that they're better off going elsewhere rather than trying to stick with ASU in 2021.
Do you think that's why some of the kids were getting remember that week that Valentine's Day massacre a week or so ago? It's like, do you think that's why it is that they're trying to make room for them, or they're just trying to say, okay, make sure we have the right numbers?
Yes, those players have been dropped by ASU in the 2021 recruiting class, which is a different aspect altogether we need to talk about. Those players, yes, they were dropped because ASU is very confident they can bring better players in there as replacements.
Okay.
Even by December.
Wow.
Maybe not always offensive line, fair trade, but just in general, feeling that, okay, we had commit X, and we told them from the get-go that your scholarship, first of all, is not official because they never gave any official scholarship letters. Everything was verbal.
Okay. I think I remember you
saying
saying
of all,
that.
they made it crystal clear, say, look, I understand you may be starting your senior year later than usual and all that. And some players aren't going to start playing until January 2021. But you need to show us something those first 3-4 games of your senior year. Okay. Otherwise, we might have to reevaluate everything.
Got it.
That, by and large, has also been a huge factor in ASU's decision to move on from those previous commits. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I know the optics are bad, but at least give credit for ASU not waiting until the month of November, a month and a half before signing day, for making those moves.
Right.
They gave all those recruits, all those previous commits, I should say, full 2 months to find a new home.
And that's kind of in the same vein that I had posted in the huddle, and you responded to that, and I think Joe Healy did as well, where it's like, look, not only is it something, it's not an underhanded practice, even though it doesn't look good. It's still, again, we're going to give you enough time, but it's like you said, I guess the nuance of not having sent you an official offer letter is, I think,
that was by design.
That's the whole caveat that really hangs on it,
and that was by design, because I mean, not to pat myself on the back, but I said much earlier in the recruiting cycle, this is the most unusual recruiting cycle I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for 20 years.
Right.
You can expect a lot of movement as far as decommits, prospects coming from left field that weren't discussed even just a few weeks ago that now are suddenly on ASU's board. You're going to see more of that this year than you've ever seen in the past, and then you're ever going to see in the future. I mean, hopefully the world goes back to normal here in 4 or 5 months. But another thing to keep in mind is the one-time transfer penalty-free rule in 2021, which a lot of players and coaches, I should say, and fans are laminating. Oh, this is really free agency in college football. But you just have to figure out that this pandemic has thrown monkey wrenches left and right, not only to recruits, but also to current players. And now to have players have the opportunity to transfer to the program of their choice, not sit out a year, be immediately eligible, a team like ASU, and really every other team for that matter, has to keep enough room available for the recruiting class. Now, sure, they can bring those players on as blue shirts, so their scholarship is going to count towards the 2022 class, even though they might even, in some cases, just play 2021 at ASU. But I think that factor is probably not spoken about enough, and that was really, I think, guiding more than anything. And that was a factor that only came to light a few weeks ago. So it's not like ASU knew about this NCAA rule back in June and only October are acting on those commits that they dropped. So this is just a ever-changing recruiting landscape in college football. New rules are coming, it seems like by the week, by the NCAA. And I'm not saying they're all bad rules, but the only constant thing right now is the fluidity of of college ball recruiting. And that rule was an absolute game changer and really forced ASU to think twice, three times. Look, we're not going to be stuck with subpar commits, especially when you have this rule. And forget about the fact that they feel they can land, even between now and December, better caliber recruits. But now, couple that with this quote unquote free agency rule in 2021, ASU had to make some hard decisions. And I could just say to any ASU fan that complain out there, why would you want ASU to be stuck with subpar commits just because they committed to you back in March, April, May, June?
And the counter argument, I guess, is that, okay, if they were subpar commits, why did we offer them? I guess is the other question that, again, as Paul Hornstein said, being devil's advocate, right? Why?
Yeah, because you had a very unusual recruiting cycle that didn't afford you to wait as long as maybe you wanted to wait. And look, I mean, in the back of your mind, you said to yourself, okay, this kid looks okay. And if I need to make a decision later about not being worthy of an ASU scholarship, so to speak, then I'll make the decision later. And I'll deal with the heat, because our news cycle, whether it's sports or anything else, is only 1 or 2 days old. And people are going to move on to another complaint or another news item. So that's really what's going to happen at the end of the day. And again, if you're an ASU fan and you're complaining about this, at the same time, if you kept a lot of those decommits, and I mean, you could put decommits in parentheses. Now you'd be complaining about, wow, ASU whiffed on again in offensive line recruiting or defensive line recruiting. Why do I need to be mentioned in that narrative again?
Yeah.
I mean, those are two positions that have not been recruited well at all at ASU in many, many years. And I think at least on the offensive line group, they're doing a much, much better job landing some quality recruits. I'm not saying all of them are going to play true freshmen like we saw last year at ASU when there was like not one, but two true freshmen playing. But I think just overall caliber is definitely going to be better. And again, you need breathing room in this recruiting class, especially with that quote unquote free agent rule that's going into place in 2021.
Excellent. Now that's like I said, it's going to be, I don't know what that, it's every day sunny in Philadelphia, where that guy has that crazy old map in the room and he's got the bug eyes and he's trying to figure everything out. It seems like that's what we're headed towards. And there's probably going to be I guess Antonio Pierce is the recruiting coordinator. I guess he's going to have an assistant that's going to keep, like, do we have enough slots? Who are we going to do? And all this other stuff. So it's all the funnel. And speaking of that, shifting over, and again, it's top of the hour. Welcome everyone to the 42 Social Club. As you can see, I have Hod Rabino from Devil's Digest, and we've been talking about ASU football on the offensive side, and now we're going to get defensive. And so now we have the new 4-3 defensive scheme, a lot more simple, based on some of the interviews. The team's really adapting to it. Again, I think it's their struggles right now is just trying to understand the Zach Hill offense, because it is so creative, right? But working backwards, right? Not front to back, but back to front, right? It's a secondary, corners and the safeties, right? That's I don't know if I want to call it the crown jewel, but it's it's incredible the amount of talent we have back there. And just the people and the staff back, and I'm sorry, the personnel back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really experience. I mean, talent and experience really, really go hand in hand. A lot of coaches will tell you there's no substitute for experience. There's, not to belabor the point, or maybe some people are sick of hearing this, but Chase Lucas in the Pac-12 being a fourth-year starter at cornerback, and it wasn't like a lesser of two evils or anything like that. I mean, this guy, people forget, as a redshirt freshman, was the only underclassman in the all Pac-12 selections that year. And granted, sophomore year was if not a near 180 in the wrong direction, not too far from that.
Okay.
But I think junior was really able to pick himself up. So for him to be one starting corner, that is experience that a lot of defensive coordinators in the Pac-12 and really around college football would love to have.
Absolutely.
And the player playing across him, which is going into some pretty big shoes that Kobe Williams left behind, because that guy was Mr. Consistency, Mr. Dependability. Oh, now you have Jack Jones, who was a great freshman at USC, obviously a 5-star prospect out of Long Beach High School. Now he's your other starter. And I thought really as a reserve, he played really, really well in terms of passes defended. He was one of the top, not only in the Pac-12, but really in the entire country. And I don't know if there's like a rough acclimation process for Jack Jones last year being a veteran, but whatever.
They targeted
whatever
him a lot too, right?
After being a year out of football, they're definitely non-existent right now.
Right.
So Jack Jones and Chase Lucas, they think they're the best cornerbacks in the Pac-12, but I also think they have the receipts, as the kids say.
Yes.
To really back that up. And then you look at safety. Evan Fields, a senior, Ashari Croswell, a junior. Both of them started, if not, I mean, I don't have my notes in front of me, but if not every game, near darn, every game for ASU last year, especially when they had the 3 safety system. So again, just a wealth of experience that just cannot be substituted with anything else. And Ashari Croswell is actually in a position battle with DeAndre Pierce, Antonio Pierce's son, who came as a grad transfer from Boise State. Again, you just talk about a lot of experience, a lot of been there, done that. So there definitely is a lot of reasons to get excited about this ASU secondary, not to belittle the other positions on defense. The Pac-12, if you have a good, solid secondary, a lot of dominoes are gonna fall in place eventually. And ASU is really, really lucky to have that.
And that's the end. And looking forward, right? If obviously it appears that Jack Jones and Chase Lucas and Evan Fields are all going to leave, right? Who's behind them, right? And maybe even not for Shari Crosswell, right? So then, I mean, we're going to have 4 new bodies next year, right? Looking forward, who's going to be? I know there's depth, good depth, but who is it?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Jordan Clark, who really also be like the first team nickelback, but is also somebody that would be obviously one of the first men off the bench, whether they're all going to play nickel coverage or not.
Okay.
And Tamarcus Davis, who was a transfer from Baylor from a couple of years ago, who I think really kind of showed more flashes the year that he had to sit out versus the year he actually played. But I mean, not a player I'm giving up on or anything like that. But somebody that still probably suited right now as a reserve. But I think 2020 can definitely set him up for starting well in 2021. But some of these freshmen that came in, T. Lee, Ed Woods, I mean, again, just players that are really turning heads early in preseason. These players may not be considered second teamers, they might actually be third teamers, but I really think the future at cornerback for ASU is really bright. Okay. And it really has to be bright because, yes, on paper, Chase Lucas and or Jack Jones could stay for 2021, right. But I just really don't see it happening for either player.
Right.
So, yes, there is some depth, maybe some question and experience, although I would say Tamarcus Davis and Jordan Cloud have some experience.
Okay.
But I think the cornerback group as a whole is definitely one of the better from top to bottom in the Pac-12.
Absolutely. No, that's definitely always. And it's I wish Chase Lucas would get more attention, but hopefully given this truncated season, he will get the recognition and the honors that he deserves. So absolutely. Now with the linebackers, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, someone asked me, this defense goes where Merlin Robinson will go, right? And I'm not exactly sure if that's. I think a lot of people are going to look to him just because of what he did his freshman year, and they expect him to be another leader as well. But linebackers, is it really Merlin Robinson's show? I mean, a lot of people have been talking about how much he's improved, or is it again? If we're talking about tiers, right? The backfield's top are the linebackers like the middle tier next?
Well, I'll take this in a different direction. I'm not saying Merlin Robinson took a step back last year because of a below average the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the encouraging feedback we're getting from an improved defensive line is really going to make those linebackers tick.
Okay.
And there is talent with Darren Butler, obviously, and Kyle Soley, who patiently waited his turn to start and now will start, and a player that,
excellent.
Some people may be frustrated, saying, "Okay, Antonio Pierce is singing his praises every day that ends with a Y, but he's still not playing that much."
Yeah, he's not starting. Right.
Well, Kyle Soley this year will be a starter.
Good.
And still really developing from year to year as you want him to see. So this linebacker group, much like the secondary group, a lot of experience, a lot of been there, done there,
right?
Type of talent. So, I mean, yeah, Merlin Robinson is definitely poised to have a better season. I think than his sophomore year. Mm-hmm. I mean, without getting into too many details, I think a lot of the off the field distractions he had.
That's what I had shared too. Yeah,
are almost non-existent right now in 2020. So now really has his head and his mind right. So this is definitely a linebacker group that should dictate the tone for the rest of the ASU defense. I can definitely see that. So, I mean, yeah, it's hard to see a very good year by the ASU defense of Merlin Robinson reverting to 2019 form or not playing a whole lot better than last year. But I really think, again, if this defensive line is doing its job and really giving the linebackers the support that they need to make plays, then yes, I mean, Merlin Robinson's going to be better, but also Butler and Soley for that.
Excellent. Good. And then wrapping the defense up, right, is the defensive line. I think that was one of the things where a lot of people were I think that's where the biggest question marks were. Obviously, O-line had some, and then wide receiver and running back and everything else, but how's defensive line looking? Obviously, I love having Coach Robert Rodriguez. He's very exciting, and I just love the way, and especially the way some of the interviews you've posted, the defensive linemen are actually talking about how much they're learning now. And I think that's brilliant. But I mean, how is the DL looking now?
I think as far as the starters, having Tyler Johnson, not a linebacker anymore, but right now as a defensive end, I think that's huge because even going back to last year, he was considered the best pass rusher on the team. And I don't think anybody's really taking away that title this year. And if you recall, Tyler Johnson was kind of an interesting story because he thought about medically retiring after the Sun Bowl. With the guidance and support of Antonio Pierce, he is back on the team and has really been doing well in the preseason. And I mean, I know you asked me, like, the linebackers are going to go as far as Merlin Robinson goes, and sure, there's some validity to that, but I would argue that this defensive line may go as Tyler Johnson goes, because
interesting.
That front four is sick about hearing all the pass rush issues from last year.
I can imagine.
Now people still questioning that. So if this pass rush does improve significantly from 2019, there's no way they're doing it with Tyler Johnson having a below average year. There's absolutely no way.
Okay.
But when you talk about pass rush, don't only think about the defensive ends, but also think about the interior. And now when Jermaine Lole moves to that 3-technique defensive tackle position, same position as Will Sutton played back in the day, if you want to reference, I think Jermaine Lole could be a poor man's Will Sutton.
Okay.
Because look, I mean, to match a level of somebody that won back-to-back Pat Tillman Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12, that's asking a lot from any player in the Pac-12, even at ASU or elsewhere. But that is a position that coaches on and off the record have said that really fits Jermaine Lole as a glove. And I still think he played very well in 2019 in the 3-3-5 lining up on the outside. But he's somebody that I think can really have a breakout year, really blossom in this 4-3-4 system. And DJ Davidson, I joked with Robert Rodriguez on a Zoom call. I said, nose tackle is kind of like a long snapper. You're never going to hear about them until they screw up. Beyond the blue collar lunch bell guy, and he laughed and agreed with that. But he is really, really excited about DJ Davidson and what he's showing in the preseason. Good. And if we're going now a little into the weeds, he's even very excited about TJ Pasifea, who was the backup for DJ Davidson at nose tackle and the way he's conducting himself. And now there's really a situation where if you need to take DJ Davidson out for one reason or another, there doesn't seem to be any drop off at all. So the only somewhat question mark that I have right now is going to be at the defensive end position, because Shannon Foreman has been the guy that's been back and forth between the defensive tackle and defensive end, and I just don't think, if we're being honest about it, that he's at the level of the pass rush of Tyler Johnson. I'm sure. I mean, you can devise a scheme where maybe you're asking Shannon Foreman to do different stuff that really matches more his skill set. But the fact that Amir Johnson has not been practicing for several weeks right now with the team, and who knows if he's going to play against USC or not, and Joe Moore being a true freshman who I think the coaches are anxious to see him really contribute right away, and maybe it's not happening at the rate that they're wanting. That kind of leaves me with some kind of question marks. I know Michael Matus, who's really a veteran compared to a lot of other defensive linemen on this team, has been showing quite a bit in preseason, but he was also injured, and that's why he's low on the depth chart that people think he should be. So there's still some question marks into the pass rush component, but if Jermaine Lole can really wreak havoc from that 3 technique position, and Tyler Johnson be that elite pass rusher everybody expects him to be, yes, this defensive line is really going to play a few notches above than 2019. And look, you don't want to simplify or oversimplify the game of football, but it really all starts and ends with the trenches. Absolutely. If you're going to win those line of scrimmage battles, more often times you're going to lose them. I think everything just falls in place behind that. And as it is, as we both said a few minutes ago, you have a very talented back seven for ASU that can reap the benefits of an improved play at the defensive line.
That's going to be exciting. Hopefully it all does come together. And so special teams, the one thing that I was curious about is at the punting position. Michael Turk came back, but we also got one hell of a recruit there too.
Yes.
Right? So have we heard anything about obviously, God bless Zendejas, legacy of this, and we know that he's doing well. But the punting, I just was curious about. We're supposed to have 2 really kick-ass punters.
Yeah, so. It's absolute embarrassment of riches at the punting position out of all players, because obviously Michael Turk, Pac-12 first team selection last year, and I don't think there's any question that he was going to win it. It's an unbelievable season.
Right.
And Logan Tyler, a grad transfer from Florida State,
there we go.
Who was the top punter in the ACC earlier in his career, came in, as you mentioned, with the premise of thinking that Michael Turk is not going to be here because he declared for the NFL draft. He was going through the NFL combine, and credit the ASU compliance office, who devised a masterful appeal to the NCAA to have Michael Turk be the first player ever to participate in the NFL combine, to sign with an agent, being expected to be, if not drafted, be signed as a free agent post-draft, that got to come back to school, to not lose any eligibility, and nothing like that. But the beauty of having a guy like Logan Tyler, and this is obviously one of the guiding factors that wanted ASU to land a guy like Tyler, is that he is a very good kickoff guy. And that was an issue that when Zane Gonzalez left, I don't think even Brandon Ruiz did that good of a consistent job. And I know Zane Gonzalez, besides his field goal kicking, obviously won a Lou Groza award, but his kickoff rate, I mean, that's one aspect a lot of people maybe not aware or maybe not talk about enough. He was one of the best kickoff guys in the nation. I mean, field goal kicking, kicked ass, no pun intended there, but kickoffs, I mean, the guy was masterful.
Absolutely.
And I think you at worst are going to see Zane Gonzalez kickoff level with Logan Tyler being now the kickoff guy.
Okay.
Now, Logan Tyler was also brought in as a longer field goal guy.
Oh, okay.
But Sean Slocum, when he was on the Zoom call with the media, hinted that Christian Zendejas doesn't really have the problems that he had with upper 40-yard kicks, even lower 50-yard
Okay.
field goal kicking. So again, that theory is going to be proven one way or another really
Right.
fast over here in a couple of weeks. But Logan Tyler is being a backup in that capacity definitely helps ASU a lot. And Sean Sugg was really even just really really likes Kevin Macias
Okay.
as a backup punter and as a kickoff guy. Really likes Eric Dickerson. I mean, great football name, but
I
he's a
was gonna
long snapper
say.
actually. But somebody has done really well. I mean, I don't think ASU had any long snapping issues whatsoever.
No, for the
Last
longest time it was
Yeah,
Mitch
last year, and
Fabroni.
having a competent guy like Eric Dickerson is one reason for that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent, a lot of depth on special teams. I'm sure that's the one area that nobody's going to talk about again until they screw up. But yeah, as far as punting, field goal kicking, kickoffs, and even having a guy that can also maybe convert longer field goals at a better rate
Okay.
than last year, ASU is really set. And again, going back to an earlier point, the defense may have to bail out the offense in more games than anybody may care for. I think the same can be said about the special teams. So the special teams and the ASU defense are definitely capable of being the difference in those razor thin games that ASU may encounter in 2020.
Excellent. And that we are blessed enough to be able to be part of that. So that's
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah. So we just completed the first hour. It's 8:12, everyone. We're going to take another quick break. Code, if you want to go ahead and get yourself some water, I'm just going to go ahead and shift over to some announcements so no one will see you on the stream, but you can leave the Zoom whenever you want. So we're going to take about 10-minute break. We'll come back at 8:20. No, 8:25. And then we'll go ahead. I mean, we'll be holding anyway, but let me do a couple of these announcements. You take your break and we'll come right
Okay.
back. Everyone, just a few quick announcements. You can see that I have 3 images here on the screen. As always, the virtual Sun Devil Summit, November 6th, next Friday, starting at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. For those of you in Arizona, I guess there's going to be a little bit of a change because for me, it's going to be 5:30 and it will be falling back, so I get to go ahead and get that extra hour of sleep. Then the next day, the next morning, and probably a few hours later, depending on when the summit ends, we're going to do our Kegs and Eggs virtual tailgate starting at 6 a.m. Pacific time. We'll be able to join, share your drinks, share your mimosas, Bloody Marys, whatever else you're eating and sharing. We're just going to go ahead and talk, get hype, and quite possibly have Code on there. And I'm working on some very, very special guests, so watch for those announcements as well. The third image you can see in the lower right-hand side, I am blessed enough to be able to be a co-MC with a Sparky's pep rally. ASU alumni is organizing something. I am co-hosting with Joe Healy, and we're going to be doing a pep rally again online via ASU alumni, and we'll be able to go ahead and talk with some Sun Devil greats, have some interviews with some Sun Devil families, and just have a good time. Talk about that in preparation of the USC games. So please feel free to make sure you are looking for tweets from me with a link to sign up for Sparky's Prep Rally. That's going to be on November 6th at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That is 3 p.m. Mountain. So again, make sure, go ahead and sign up for those as well. And like I said, we're going to be taking a 10 to 15 minute break. We will see you probably about at 8:20, 8:25. Make sure you go ahead and refuel your drink, get yourself some water, get yourself a bio break, and then we will go ahead and join with Hode and we will talk about some ASU hoops because that one is coming up as well. The schedule was announced and we get to go ahead and do that as well. So again, thanks everyone. See you in about 10 minutes. And stay tuned. Talk shortly. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again so much. Hopefully, you have refueled. I am on a water fix right now because, again, it's going to be quite the weekend. Not only do we have Halloween tomorrow, have some friends coming over, I am not going to get lit like I usually do on Halloween because November 1st is for decorating for Christmas. So that's what I say. So, welcome back, my friend. Thank you again. Always great to talk with you. As my shirt says, Arizona State basketball. I wore this shirt. I got it when I went to Orlando a few years ago. And this shirt got me so much love. And again, I guess that's a testament to what the buzz is going on with ASU hoops. So they've been practicing. I've been seeing some stuff. I've even saw Coach Hurley shoot some hoops with the mask on. Tell us what's going on with ASU basketball right now.
Yeah, look, I think Bobby Hurley is somebody who is very realistic and straightforward. He'll never sugarcoat anything. And if you know, his dad, Bob Hurley Sr., is actually in the Hall of Fame just because of a very illustrious high school coaching career. That's basically the same cloth that he's cut from. So when Bobby Hurley is giddy over the moon with the level of talent and his expectations of this 2021 squad, it is for good reason. Now, look, in a lot of ways, it's a no-brainer. Remy Martin returning first-time Pac-12, returning first-team Pac-12 player, getting more than just a few buzz nuggets here and there as far as being an All-American on a national level.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have Alonzo Verge returning Sixth Man of the Year, who will be a starter this year.
Okay.
5-star prospect, incoming freshman, Josh Christopher. 5-star prospect, incoming freshman, Marcus Bagley.
Who's our center?
And the center's going to be Jalen Graham with LaMelo White with transferring out. Jalen Graham showed a lot of flashes last year.
Absolutely.
Bobby Hurley has been very, very bullish on Graham as well as having a really, really good preseason, developing his game, adding some bulk. So enough I came and said this on the social club previous time, but look, there's genuine reason to be excited about ASU football. But if you want to be honest about it, multiply that by an infinity.
Yes.
And that's how every ASU fan should feel about this basketball team.
Absolutely.
Everything is set to really have a season for the ages. For this team, I would say to not win the Pac-12 and to not reach the Sweet 16 would really be a very shocking disappointment. I mean, just everything is in place over there. Everything is